Marina Adams, Bridgehampton. And I think it's wonderfully conceived and a great use of so many artists that are out here, both North and South Fork, because I have lots of friends. More of my contemporaries, I would say, are in the North Fork. And it's kind of like a fluke just that we landed here, And yeah, this is a way that, we get to see everybody's work and in conjunction with the collection. So it seems very apropos, I guess, from my experience of the parish and what its function is within the community. I will say that it was also, wonderful to go through and see lots of things, to see what the collection was. But, when I think about the paintings that were made out here, de Kooning is probably, he's been a very, very important artist for me. When I first moved to New York in the 80s, for school at Columbia, I would go to Xavier Foucault Gallery and see the de Kooning paintings and Joan Mitchell in particular. They had a very strong influence. And I'll say, de Kooning's early work, which I appreciated, but it never really affected my practice and affected my studio. I really just sort of was outside of that, all the gesture and everything, because it took me a while to figure out where gesture was in the work. But that said, when I saw the late work, it just knocked me out. And so I think when, you asked me to do this, I sort of ran to the phone anyway, and, asked, what do you have in the collection by him? And yeah, so it's very exciting for me to be able to put a painting of his up and mine up. It's always very different looking at something, in person, and and what is, I think about that, what is different, because work can look great on, especially if you use color, it can look really great on the internet, on the phone, even on those screens. But what's the difference? And people do always remark that coming to the studio and seeing the work firsthand or seeing an exhibition, they're so surprised. It's like somehow they were experiencing something else. And I really think it has to do with vibrations. And I think that, art's alive. And what we do in here is, it's energetic, and it has to do with vibrations. It's different than music. Obviously, music, I think, is much more, it literally electrifies the space and the air, but painting can as well. I usually, to get going, I work a lot on paper. And I continuously work on paper, but I was away for a couple of months, so I had to come back and, on the one hand, I was sort of recharged from time off, and we looked at a lot of art and, spent a couple months in Paris and just all over. Did a show in Berlin, etc. And coming back, again, reminds me to get back in gear in a way. I just work things out on paper, and gouache a lot, and crayon, and so drawing. And then I get to the canvas. And so when it comes to the canvases, I draw first, so I get a sense about where I'm going. And this is also what, the sort of break, if I can say, I studied New York painting, European painting, of course, art from all over, but if I think about New York and New York painting and the abstract expressionists, I really sort of had to slow things down in a way. And I say that, but that said, if you look at de Kooning painting, he paints actually, those lines are often very, very slowly worked. So, he's moving, in a way. So this whole notion of slash, is really quite false. But I do like to put a structure down first. It's not that it can't change, but it gives me a place to start. And this is something I learned early on as well from another artist, another teacher, because I think we have to use our history and the history of art and painting. But Picasso really taught me how to, in order to be the creator, you had to be the destroyer, and so you have to be willing to give up whatever it is. And sometimes, and this I learned early on too, sometimes you have to give up your favorite part of the painting, maybe even the most beautiful part, because otherwise you end up trying to just feed that and it gets petty, right? So you've got to sort of open it up. And in the end, you give the work what it needs. It's just like human beings, you know, it's just like everything. If you can give something what it needs to thrive, then you're going to get something that's thrived. And so it's really a matter of paying attention and recognizing things. And that's, to me, the big difference between a young artist and an older artist. We need art more than ever now. We're in, I think, in many ways, a time of crisis. And I think that we need to remember that we do have power, that people have power. And I also think that, you know, the thing about the power of art is you can affect it. It's like you throw a pebble into a pond and the ripples happen. Dialogue is so great because it really just, you spark and then, yeah. I always found teaching was like that too, tell you the truth. You know, I always encouraged, I told them no question is stupid. You know, that every question can spark dialogue and all dialogue is healthy.